forever grappling with the weight of immense grief.
I never thought we would be 30 years down the road and still asking the question, where is Morgan? You know, where is she?
My hope is that someone somewhere will tell the truth.
Forever fighting for answers.
Not knowing where Morgan is and knowing that she didn't survive, you know, what he would have done, as a family is very difficult. It's very heartbreaking.
30 years of missing Morgan. Half her mom's life spent searching, waking up worried, with a lump in her throat and a hole in her heart, stuck in this never-ending nightmare Colleen Nick calls her reality.
She's somewhere. Morgan is somewhere. Do you think there's someone out there who knows something?
I absolutely believe someone knows the truth about what happened to Morgan. I think that the man who died in prison obviously holds the entire truth, but I do believe that there are people who know the truth. And, you know, our call to action to that person is to find the courage to dig deep and find the courage to tell us what you know.
Please come forward. We want to bring Morgan home no matter what that looks like.
Morgan's younger siblings, Taryn and Logan, stayed with their grandma while she and Colleen attended a Little League game in Alma with some friends. They arrived around 8 and settled into the bleachers along the first baseline where they sat most of the night. Morgan resisted repeated invitations to play from other children until a little boy and girl asked if she wanted to catch fireflies.
She, you know, pleaded with me to let her go catch fireflies, and I told her that I didn't think it was a good idea, that I thought it was too late and too dark.
Morgan kept asking as the voices of criticism echoed in Colleen's mind, often being called overprotective. That night, friends reassured her it was safe.
Against my better judgment, I told her that she could. And she threw her arms around my neck and gave me a big hug, and she kissed me on the cheek and climbed down out of the bleachers with the kids, and they ran towards the parking areas.
For 15 minutes, they played.
They weren't out of sight. They were just directly up to our left, and we could see them running back and forth in front of the cars. We could see them playing.
As the game ended, the 8 and 10-year-old returned, telling Colleen Morgan had stopped by her car to empty sand from her shoes. Colleen picked apart that parking lot.
I even remember looking under the car at one point, thinking she has to be here.
Morgan was just 6. She was quiet, shy, scared of the dark.
She wouldn't have left the area. She wouldn't have walked off anywhere. I mean, that's something that I know about her. And so as soon as I couldn't find her, that dread set into my heart.
One of the coach's wives called 911.
They began what has turned into the largest search that the state of Arkansas has ever seen. They're the knights in shining armor. They're the heroes. They know what to do. I absolutely thought that they would find her right away.
The technology now at our fingertips wasn't even a thought 30 years ago. A local journalist told Colleen they would put Morgan's story on the news first thing in the morning.
We were so thankful, and that was 12 hours after Morgan was taken.
A friend programmed a fax machine to send out Morgan's poster.
Was faxing maybe 4 or 5 an hour, and we were just blown away with that we could get her picture in front of that many people.
The Thanksgiving after Morgan went missing, someone from North Carolina called, having found a balloon carrying her information.
In that moment, it gave us so much hope that people were seeing her face and seeing her story, and that if they walked past her in their community, they would recognize her, right? And she would come home.
Morgan Nick is more than what happened to her, more than a missing person. Colleen clings tight to the memories made before her daughter disappeared.
She absolutely loved being a sister.
This is a picture of my mother and me when I was born, and this is Morgan.
Her dream? To be a circus performer and a doctor when she grew up.
She was going to take her little brother with her and have him play the drums for the circus, right?
She's always there, and if I know she's always here, she's my sister. I love my sister.
Morgan had a joyful, spunky, vibrant personality.
Who's your sister?
Taryn.
You love your sister? Good.
Also a homebody, sticking close to family and friends.
I like projects, I like parties. I love videos. I love Miss Schaefer, her teacher. I do not like work. I do not like recess when we go out. I love it when we go in for videos. I like coloring. She wrote this 2 weeks before the end of first grade, and 2 weeks later she was kidnapped.
Morgan didn't like to run or sweat.
She said, "Do you know what they make you do in track?" And she explained to me that she had to go outside and run, and she was sweating, and she was very upset, and she quit. And she joined Girl Scouts because she said they could stay inside and glue stuff. So Morgan's Girl Scout troop had matching t-shirts made, and she had her Girl Scout t-shirt on the night that she went missing. And so this is one of the shirts from another one of the girls in her troop, and this is what they used when they matched the fiber from the truck.
Every night, Morgan's cat slept nuzzled under her neck.
She picked out literally the ugliest kitten. It was just all kinds of colors. It was this little mashed up ball of fur, and it had these huge eyes. Morgan was just tender-hearted, and she loved creatures.
Like everything else she owned, Morgan named her cat Emily.
I always thought she would come home and that cat would be waiting for her.
Emily lived for 19 years.
When we lost the cat, that was really painful for our family because it felt like we were losing a part of Morgan again.
Colleen never asked to be the face of this fight.
This is from when we went on Oprah the first time.
Like Morgan, she was shy.
I got my education about missing children on the sidewalk in front of the police department. I just remember very clearly we were 4 days into the search. We were living in the fire station. I'm going to have to change who I am. And it wasn't even a decision that had to be made. It was just absolutely, this is what I have to do.
June 9th, 1995, their family changed forever.
I get called the helicopter mom. I definitely lived in fear for a long time. I'm willing to do anything, to keep my children safe.
That fear, it just lives in the back of my head, and I can't let it rule my life. I won't let it rule my life. I will not let the person who took Morgan steal anything else from us. But we're smart about how we live. And some pages talking about Morgan and who she was.
Colleen wrote this book to help her grandkids process what happened.
I would say they have a pretty good reality of what happened.
She's worth fighting for.
She is worth fighting for. Everybody is worth fighting for.
She mattered.
If I stop fighting for her, everyone else will stop fighting. Law enforcement have 1,000 other things to do. It's our job to make sure that our legacy is strong. And it's our job to be a voice that says Morgan's life mattered. One of the FBI evidence recovery team people made this. Tells me that it's more than just a job, that it's more than just a case, that this is personal and people carry Morgan in their hearts, and that is really important to me.
There is this sort of weird cult following around true crime. How does that, as a mother, who this is your life, this is your reality, make you feel seeing the hyperfixation and almost obsession with true crime?
The positive out of that is that there are a lot of people who, are super interested, who watch these shows on crime, and then who take their own time and they go out and dig up details, and that has been known to solve cases. And so while it's strange to me that people would be really focused on watching terrible things happen to other people's lives, when you have all of the eyes of the world watching something, it can't be done in secret anymore. It stops crimes from happening.
She says we can all learn something from Morgan's story.
Be aware in our communities and take care of each other. Make the world a kinder and safer place. Remember to stop and chase the fireflies.
For the family, fireflies represent the innocence of childhood.
Morgan loved fireflies. That was the thing that made her willing to leave my side that night, was to go catch fireflies. And when you just watch all these magical bursts of light all over the sky, it always makes me think of Morgan, and it always makes me think of the work that we do, how we're just throwing those lights out there and bringing people safely home. Fireflies have become really a symbol of shining a light in the darkness, right? That Morgan's heart shines on.
Breaking out the yearbook.
It just floods memories.
It's the year 1996.
A dedication page.
Belonging by then in 2nd grade, but Morgan Nick never made it. After the summer of '95, she never stepped foot back in school.
Her favorite foods were grilled cheese, apples, and gum. Her best subject was reading. Her favorite toy was Barbies. And her favorite pet was Emily, the family cat.
Her teachers say she was artsy, a girly girl who cared deeply for others and loved looking at butterflies.
And you see how happy a kid she is, and that just kind of sums her up.
Jerry Emmerich taught her kindergarten class, and Tiffany Schaefer had Morgan her first year as a 1st grade teacher.
It's like we lost one of our kids. I mean, you love the kids you teach, and one of our kids is missing, and we want her found.
Summer break had just started about 2 weeks in when police say Billy Jack Links abducted Morgan.
It is absolutely amazing how many people can go back to that day, and they will tell you a story about how it changed their life.
Bill Gossage's son was Morgan's 1st grade reading partner.
It was my son John's birthday party. We were doing what we always do as a family, and it lasted well into the evening. We're having a great time, but we found out about it that night, the thing that you fear the most.
That day, forever etched in many minds.
I was at my grandmother's house. She lived here in town, and we were going to have a garage sale, and another teacher who was having a baby actually called me from the hospital and had seen the signs at the hospital in Fort Smith that they already had signs up. And she called me and asked me if I'd heard.
My neighbor, her daughter was friends with Morgan, and she had gotten the call, and she called me to tell me that it had happened. My daughter was a year older than Morgan, and had actually played with them the week that she did go missing. And I couldn't process it. It was one of those things that your mind just couldn't make sense of it.
It sent parents into a panic. While home with a baby, Miss Schaefer even fielding their phone calls.
Asking, what do I need to say to them because they can't sleep at night, or their sibling is holding on to them and won't sleep. I remember having nightmares myself.
It made it real that this isn't theoretical. This isn't, yes, something could happen. Something did happen. I mean, I know somebody who was abducted. They were a friend of mine. They're gone, and we don't know where they are.
This removed the maybe, they say, erasing the not in my backyard mentality. People started to behave and do life differently.
We had an alarm put on our house. My son would periodically ask me, Dad, is somebody going to get me? He was never afraid before. Later on in life, it became, do you think she's still alive?
Prior to that, when we would go to the ball field, we were very Mayberry. You just really didn't worry about anything. Nothing bad had ever happened. When we would go to Walmart, you would let your kids go to the toy section, and they would look around, and you would get your stuff, and then we would go. After that, you didn't let them leave your side. And everybody was very, very tense. It was a very stressful time.
I remember just watching every car that drove up around the playground, and just, who is that? Are they supposed to be here? And counting the kids constantly. Anxiety as a teacher, a fright that you didn't have before.
Teachers assume the responsibility of tackling those tough conversations. Priority number 1, safety. 2, to teach. Telling kids to keep close to their parents and stay where they can see them.
At that point, I think we had the McGruff crime dog, and we would use it to talk about how you would handle certain situations.
For field trips, they implemented the buddy system.
Trying to keep it where no one would wander, where they could be easy to get to.
After 18 years, Emmerich started teaching 8th grade, and like every year before, she put up her picture with Morgan.
I kept it in my 8th grade classroom, and I would talk to the kids because they were at the age where they're talking to people online that they shouldn't be talking to. That's her at kindergarten graduation. They would go look at her picture and they'd ask me questions, and we'd kind of relate it to them. And we would talk about, being kidnapped, sex trafficking, just to drive the point home to them that it has happened here before, it could happen here again.
Teachers also on the receiving end of education through required professional development hours learning about topics like crimes against children.
We didn't do that when it was safe to be in your neighborhood and it was safe to be at your ball field.
Emmerich says there are kids you might say never met a stranger, the ones you worry about talking to the wrong person. She told investigators that wasn't Morgan.
Morgan wasn't one to just go up and talk to someone. She was very quiet, and one of the things I told him is she was the least likely person for me to see that this could happen to. So if someone took her, they just grabbed her and picked her up, maybe put their hand over her mouth. But she wasn't very big, she was tiny.
Everybody was looking for a red and white pickup truck that had a camper shell. I called in too myself. But if you were a person who happened to own a red and white truck at that time, you were getting followed all over the place.
Emmerich says they faced several false alarms.
We just kept waiting for when we would get that message that they'd found her. Remember when they came across and said they thought they had her, and then it wasn't her. And we just kept, we'd get our hopes up, and then it wouldn't happen.
A sobering moment, a memory clear as day, seeing Morgan's missing person poster pinned to a sign at Silver Dollar City.
Thousands of people walk by those that don't have a clue who she is. But when you walk by those and see those missing, and you know that child, I remember it being hard.
And after that, it made me start looking at the posters more. Where used to I would have just walked right past, but after that I would look.
Years later, during an ultrasound, doctors gave Schaefer's daughter a June 9th due date.
It'd been 5 years, but just to keep the hope alive, I said, we're going to name her after Morgan. Think about her every time I see my daughter.
Her kindergarten group picture, and Morgan is right here in the center.
And this is her first grade picture, and she's right in the center again with her pink bow in her hair.
The kids that grew up then, the kids that went to school with her, and the kids older than her, it affects them as parents today.
When you become a mom, you realize the profound loss.
We have an older daughter, and she knows to be aware of her surroundings.
I have a 6-year-old who plays ball on those fields, and we have a little one now, and in a few years he'll be running around and not out of my sight.
It just kind of makes us more aware of what we do and where we go.
I think he's probably a more cautious father. I think he was a more cautious person, and I suspect everyone that was around at that time the same way.
Gossage broke down trying to talk about the latest breakthrough in Morgan's case.
When I saw that they had called a press conference, no one told me, but I knew.
A wound that never went away.
Every time they find someone that has been held in a house or somewhere, I always think, we don't know. They may find fibers in the truck, but Morgan could still be somewhere. And we're going to hold on to that until we know otherwise. And even if you think what you remember isn't a big deal, you don't know where that might fit into the scheme of things. So let them know, let the police, let them decide if it's important or if it's not important. And if this is something that you've been harboring, you need to make things right.
A lot of prayers have been prayed over the last 30 years.
She made that for me for my Christmas present. And every year, I'll put that on my tree. I pray that we'll know something. So someday we'll know. And for Colleen, I hope that day soon.
Colleen Nick was Emmerich's homeroom mom.
She would be a very loving mommy in free play, which she learned from her own mommy.
A princess mommy, maybe.
Oh yes, definitely.
Maybe a princess mommy.
Wearing pink.
Yes, yes.
Emmerich says her mom always told her things will either make you bitter or make you better.
And in Colleen's case, it has made her better. And it is her love for her daughter that drives her and enables her to get up and do what she does.
That gives a lot to the others that are needing that hope.
Whether it's on this side of eternity or the next side, but she will keep looking until she finds Morgan.
We would skip school and go
get
ice cream. We did.
And a Coke or whatever at
Oh,
Adam's
yeah,
drugstore.
for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
In junior high and high school, everybody hung out at, Kentucky Fried Chicken parking lot, and
just had to be home before it's dark.
Yeah, of course we had that bell out there, ring the dinner bell.
Yeah.
That would make you come home for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Growing up just in Crawford County, thinking Alma was like
big town.
Big town.
Where everybody wants to hang out.
It was the metro area. It's beautiful timing.
Yeah.
Even like the train that goes by, like it's just little things make Alma Alma.
My door was never locked when I was a kid.
We didn't lock ours. We played in the edge of the road.
2-lane road to get out there, out in the country. We knew our neighbors. The kids could ride their bikes anywhere.
Yeah, my mom told me when she was a kid, you could run around, do whatever.
Of course, things changed.
Yeah, for sure.
Things changed. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I remember that night.
Yeah.
Pretty specifically. I remember playing in the dirt just over beside the bleachers with Caleb, and we stayed close by.
Yeah.
And watched Bradley and hung out over by the dugout quite a bit.
Yeah.
And yeah.
June of 1995.
Yep.
Never
forget it.
You remember where we were?
Space camp with the whole 5th grade class.
Yeah.
We were chaperones.
Yeah, we took all the 5th grade to space camp every year right at the end of school, right after school was out. But somebody had talked to Gina and said, well, Micah may have been on that trip, Micah Parks, and said that Morgan had been kidnapped back in Alma.
I was 3 years old and you were probably just being born.
I was one at the time that it happened. I was new to the community, but it was so heartbreaking to know that the search was on, and every few months, a little bit of information or maybe hope would happen.
I was married and we had our first kid when it happened.
I guess I'd have been 4 when that happened.
I do remember how quiet those first games, it was like silence.
I think anybody, when they thought about Little League Baseball that summer, they thought about Morgan.
Sure. When Morgan and Nick disappeared, we were still playing ball that summer, and everything changed. We didn't know what had happened to her. Suddenly we couldn't let our kids go play at the playground anymore.
Kind of shook that small town feel, didn't it?
It did.
It just took a lot out of the community.
We ended up putting up fences around the playground. It made us adults realize it could happen in small town America, because it did happen.
I pray every day for them. I go to church with Colleen and I see her. Mother's Day was kind of hard, just seeing her there, knowing I have my kids with me, and it happened so many years ago, and she still has a piece of her heart that's always going to be missing.
Our thoughts and our prayers are with Colleen.
Yes.
Like, we are here to support you. We're here to support the foundation. We're here to support the name of Morgan Nick. We're here to even just hold your hands up when you're weary. Whatever it is, we're here for you. And that is what Alma stands for. It is the community that I believe in.
I think Colleen did a service to everyone by taking that tragedy and making it into something to help others.
Thank you for the foundation
Yeah.
and helping to find lost kids.
Horrible things like this can happen, and it can either make you bitter or better. And I from the outside looking in, certainly seems like it has made Colleen next. very much better.
And just know that there are a lot of people who love you and respect you and believe in what you do. And we want you to keep doing that as long as you can. And we're happy to see Taryn following your lead in that. And I'm just very proud to call you my friend.
The sound of someone else found safe.
So let me ask you guys, raise your hand if you have your own cell phone, if you play live video gaming, if you have social media, if you've ever talked to somebody online you don't know.
A sight that some might find shocking, watching hands shoot up left and right.
They've got files on their computer of 5,000 more kids.
A foundation doing everything it can to prevent bad things from happening and responding right away when they do.
They have taken something tragic and turned it into something really beautiful. That there really is beauty in the ashes of all of that.
Not long after her daughter went missing, Colleen Nick created the Morgan Nick Foundation. 2 unpaid employees set up in a small room tucked behind the stage at her church. Now, 9 staff members and 2 therapy cats have taken over a building along Highway 71 in Alma, once belonging to Rebecca and Steve Gann's business.
It's easy to get emotional here.
Yes.
Rebecca was forced to close her shop when she got sick.
And I remember calling her one day and I said, you know, don't be surprised if a nonprofit or somebody reaches out to us. I just felt like that's what the Lord was laying on my heart that was going to happen. And then, bam.
That same day, Colleen called.
This building was prayed over every day.
Whenever you walked in, that you felt like no matter what was going on out there, in here there was some peace, that lives would be changed.
The Ganns donate this space.
It's humbling that the Lord would allow us to just be a little tiny piece of it. I can't fathom the energy it takes to get up every single day and come here and fight that battle for another day when it's been 30 years.
There's somebody here fighting for you, fighting for your loved one, fighting to get them back home.
It's never over.
No, not till they come home.
Praying frequently for the foundation and the people who make it possible.
That the Lord just continues to multiply their resources.
The Lord would give them daily resolve and daily strength and daily encouragement to just be able to get up and do it one more day. That they would be able to carry it on and do it one more day.
Colleen says starting a foundation is a lot of work, hard to sustain, and they're always looking for funding.
You guys have done so much work. 30 years almost of fighting for kids through your foundation. Where did this idea of adopting a foundation come from when you're in the midst of fighting for, your child's life? You then bear the burden of fighting for everyone else's at the same time.
Certainly never set out to start a foundation, but as one day led into another and as the search continued to grow and we began to encounter other people and knew that we had some knowledge that could be helpful and just started doing those things. Eventually we found ourselves in a place of saying, we need something to hold all of this. 30 years later, we can look back and see the impact of Morgan's life on the lives of people across our state and across our country.
Taryn Hicks taking on the role of senior case manager.
This has always been a calling and a passion. I think it just took me time to heal. A couple years back, I was ready to embrace this and carry Morgan's name.
They work a wide range of cases from runaways to kidnappings.
I have a lot of families that have long-term missing loved ones. My goal is to make them feel not alone in it, but it also brings me some comfort too.
Hey Micah, this is Brandy calling you from the Morgan Nick Foundation. I'm working on a flyer for your brother.
Outreach has always been Brandy Cook's mission.
It's very rewarding and worthy work that we do.
4 case managers divide and conquer Arkansas's counties.
I have a little over 70 cases right now.
They use this missing persons database while maintaining constant communication with several agencies, law enforcement, local shelters, and grieving families.
There's no other reason that we exist other than to help the families that are going through, looking for a missing loved one.
And help organize searches.
Time is our enemy. You can't wait.
All while walking alongside loved ones, advocating for them and making sure their needs are met.
This is a case that I had. She was actually trafficked across 5 states and endured quite a bit of abuse.
Taryn contacted Arkansas State Police, immediately jumping on the case, deploying more than 200 law enforcement agents across several airports as the 17-year-old boarded different flights. This, written on a sticky note, stuck to her computer.
She told him that she did not want him to find her, but that he saved her life by finding her.
The other thing that we've got to be concerned about now, too, is AI.
The foundation saw a massive shift in messaging from its traditional stranger danger campaign.
That picture of you in your swimsuit at the lake, they'll download it and Photoshop really disgusting things and sell it. And now those pictures are out there forever.
Today, a vastly different scenario from when Morgan was taken.
Okay, I'm worrying about strangers, but I'm being harmed in my own home. And ironically, we're getting in cars with people we don't know for Uber and Lyft.
Assistant Director Genevieve Strickland says giving a child unlimited access to the internet gives predators an open invite into their bedroom.
You guys wouldn't go home tonight, open up all your doors and windows and say, hey, anybody here in Atkins can come live in my house.
So many adults tend to think, well, why would they do this? And this is their fault and they're making a poor choice. And they forget that, yeah, because they're kids, they are making poor choices and they don't know what the real dangers are. And we do.
Strickland educates law enforcement, parents, teachers, counselors, communities, you name it. It's the key, she says, to keeping kids safe.
Weeding through what's factual and what's not and what's just there to cause, rampant fear.
She cares deeply and empathizes with troubled children.
I didn't have a very, normal childhood. It was really rough. A couple of odd adoptions, rehomed and went through foster care for several years.
Over the years, Strickland has reached hundreds of thousands of students presenting to schools across the state.
This is a mental battle where they will manipulate and brainwash you.
The foundation worked with Arkansas's Department of Education to create a curriculum that also meets some state standards and helps teachers spot warning signs for things like sex trafficking.
You'll get a teacher that'll look at another teacher they work with and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this sounds just like da-da-da-da-da. We have counselors call us and say, oh my gosh, after you were there, we had 12 kids disclosed to us. They were, had predators talking to them online, or they'd been sending out inappropriate photos. That's one more kid that we're not gonna see come across our desk as a missing child.
Raising awareness so everyone can make informed decisions.
Most kids that end up in trouble, they live at home, they get up and go to school every day, they come home and sleep in their beds every night.
Meanwhile, they're being extorted for money or sexual favors.
They weren't kidnapped and thrown in a little white van and taken somewhere the way we tend to think it looks when something like that happens. It's right here in their hometown, in their schools. I mean, it happens in the blink of an eye.
Strickland's seen predators enter into kids' group chats and direct them to the dark web.
It's just getting younger all the time.
You make sure those accounts are private.
Parents will tell her their kids aren't allowed on social media.
But they have it. They're on it.
She also says kids don't know not to tell their parents how things work.
So when you go ask them, hey, can you show me how to do this, or tell me what this app is for, most of the time they get excited about it and they're like, yeah.
Always stay one step ahead, she says, or you may be behind.
There's just so much to think about and it changes every day. The bad guys are always one step ahead.
It's tough, Strickland says, to be the parent who stands alone, but even more tough and lonely for the parents whose kids don't come home.
I wish they would stand their ground a little bit more, and maybe if they understood what's really going on, they would.
Strickland urges parents to play an active role in their kids' lives and walk them through what ifs. She says kids have committed suicide when they think there's no other option.
Let them know they can come to you, that there's still hope.
Kids can be savvy and sneaky.
You try to hide it.
Learn their loopholes.
It's nothing new, but the dangers out there are something new and something much more concerning.
What they don't do at the Morgan Nick Foundation is look for Morgan. All efforts here go towards serving every other family of missing children and adults in Arkansas.
If you were to find Morgan today, would the work stop?
If Morgan came home today, if we had all the answers today about what happened, that would be resolution for our family, but it wouldn't stop the work for other families who have missing persons. You can't take this work away because people are always missing, and families will always need resources and deserve those resources to find their missing loved one.
The single biggest break in the case since the night Morgan disappeared, when a witness first saw a red truck at the baseball field, was finding that red truck 25 years later. And that was until a forensic lab broke this case wide open. For the first time since Alma police announced they had proof Morgan had been inside Billy Jack Link's red truck. Doug Warner takes us inside the Texas lab that was able to connect all the DNA dots.
One way to think about this is it's really basically Google Maps.
Inside this nondescript business park building that you'd likely need Google Maps to even find 30 miles north of downtown Houston.
Instead of places, it's people, and we're connecting the dots between those people.
Is the very place the Nick family.
Each one of these hexagons represents a case that was unsolved.
And Arkansas investigators finally heard the news they had long awaited.
The police department had asked us to assist in the disappearance of this young girl.
6-year-old Morgan Nick.
Othram was purpose-built in 2018 to identify victims and perpetrators from any forensic evidence and mostly forensic evidence that was previously deemed unusable or intractable.
Think about it. Othram didn't start examining their first piece of bone or DNA swabs for police investigations until some 10 years after Morgan was abducted.
The physical evidence collected from the truck that Lynx owned when Morgan was abducted.
So when Alma police called them in 2023 asking for help, they knew they were faced with a much tougher challenge.
In this case, it was a little bit different. We weren't looking for an unknown person. We actually needed to build a DNA sequence to confirm that the person that sequence belonged to was Morgan Nick.
It wasn't all that long ago that DNA first became a reliable way to confirm an identification. The first couple of decades, testing involved just a handful of markers to make a DNA comparison. Investigators could use it to prove a suspect had been on a crime scene. And everyday people could use it to determine someone living halfway around the country was an Uncle Russell they'd never met, all thanks to an Ancestry DNA kit. But this was different. Investigators couldn't make a simple DNA comparison because they didn't have Morgan.
So instead of confirming identity, DNA now can infer identity. That's huge.
And it began with the longest of long shots. The first finding that red 1986 Chevy pickup truck that once belonged to Billy Jack Link's, 25 years after it's believed he drove away with Morgan, and then performing an extensive evidence vacuuming, searching for any DNA evidence of Morgan.
Somehow it stayed there, right? That little piece of hair was still there to be vacuumed up and collected by law enforcement. That's incredible. But the first thing we do is we extract DNA from the rootless hair in this case, or whatever the primary evidence is. Then we test that bit of DNA to see if all the properties of it, how degraded is it, how much is there. Once we figure that out, it goes into the genomics part of the lab. We build a DNA library that can be sequenced. In this case, we compared it to a family member sequence.
Her memory and her voice outlasted his life.
And that's when they discovered one of the biggest answers the Nick family had been waiting on for nearly 30 years.
For the first time ever, provided concrete evidence that she was in that vehicle.
No matter how many cases they've taken on, along with law enforcement across the country and beyond.
You really are consumed by the unknown.
These Texas crime-fighting scientists at Othram Labs know the difference they're making for families, just like Morgan's.
It's incredible. Every single time DNA leads to an answer or a little bit more of the truth, every single time I look at the hexagon board, you know what that means to someone. It affects not just their family, but the entire community. In this case specifically, the entire community was involved in trying to find Morgan.
I think every parent in Arkansas had this immediate sense of not just grief, but a deep ache in our hearts as parents, knowing that this mother had her child at a ball game and then she was gone.
Gone 30 years to this day.
But I just remember on the night that this happened, and of course the news broke the next day.
June 9th, 1995.
I was lieutenant governor when the story came out about Morgan Nick's abduction.
That following year, Mike Huckabee was elected as the 44th governor of Arkansas, maintaining a strong connection to the case and the Nick family.
Improve schools in the nation. Was able to meet Colleen fairly soon after all this happened. Have remained in touch with her all these years. She's one of the most remarkable people I've ever met.
Remarkable and determined, Colleen continues her fight and hasn't given up on getting answers about her daughter's disappearance.
I think many of us wanted to encourage Colleen. It turns out she was the one who encouraged us.
Turning her worst fear and using it into a tool for other parents going through a similar case, Colleen started the Morgan Nick Foundation, which assists with more than 1,000 missing person cases each year.
I mean, I was blown away that here was a mother who has been looking for her daughter and had no idea where she was and was she safe, but she didn't curl up in a fetal position and give up. She took her energy and she started using it first, obviously to find Morgan, but then to say to other parents, here's things that you need to be aware of. Don't let the child out of your sight. Make sure you have a good understanding of your surroundings. It was very obvious that without Colleen and her advocacy for missing children, some of these important pieces of legislation would never have happened.
One of those being Megan's Law, which requires authorities to make information available to the public regarding registered sex offenders.
I just think that anything that a legislative body can do, whether it's to increase the penalties, to give more resources to law enforcement, to do a better job of helping to quickly identify those who have been abducted.
The most recent bill passed in the natural state recognizing the Morgan Nick Foundation, Senate Bill 371. The law establishes a new reporting system for missing children who do not meet the minimum criteria to issue an Arkansas Amber Alert.
How do you say no to a mother who comes to the state capitol, who shares her story with such a level of articulation and eloquence, and yet does it not with anger, not with bitterness, but with just the broken heart of a mother who now wants to make sure that no one else ever has to experience it? She had an impact on every legislator. She had an impact on me.
The common sentiment, it won't happen here, acting as a wake-up call to many Arkansans following 6-year-old Morgan's disappearance.
We're a small town kind of state. Most people know each other. They know their neighbors, and these kind of things don't happen. But it does, and it did.
The question also remains.
Sometimes wonder if the technology of today had been in existence when Morgan was abducted. Would we have found her? But I'd like to think that we would have had a much better chance because images would have been instantly available. A description of the pickup truck that it was believed to have taken her away. DNA evidence that was in its infancy, if hardly existent at all in places.
3 decades later, the same law enforcement agencies, family, and friends who stood with them then still stand with them today.
I wish that Colleen had been able to watch her grow up, watch her go to the prom, watch her graduate, watch her get married, watch her bring grandchildren into the world for her. She didn't get to do any of that. I pray that someday, I pray I'll live to see it, that Colleen finds out what happened to Morgan.
From early on, we had the person's name and information on them in that file. We just we didn't have the information to pull that straw out of that pile. So the pile was, to me, a demon, right?
Morgan Nick's file room,
filled with boxes and cabinets containing thousands of leads dating back 3 decades. A haunting archive Russell White never imagined would shadow his years as the police chief of Alma. But in 1995, a phone call about a missing child was far from unusual for the department.
At least back then, the parents they'd let their kids have a little more freedom, a little more reign, right? So they wouldn't really be missing, they'd just be missing at the moment.
The thought at that time was, she couldn't have been kidnapped and she's ran away or she's at a friend's house.
A high schooler at the time, Jeff Pointer, like many, was unaware of the case that was opening in the small town of Alma.
I remember going down there that night. I remember meeting Colleen for the first time that night, just briefly.
With a history in narcotics and criminal investigation trials, White tells me he felt certain the case would be solved in days.
If this took a month, that was going to be longer than I thought it would take, right? And I was obviously way wrong.
And as the months dragged on, the police department became a whirlwind, with the press waiting outside the door for answers that local, state, and federal officials were inside hunting for.
When you think you're going to be looking for a kid and you're trying to figure out a way to get all these computers in here and phone lines down and enough chairs for all your investigators to sit in.
And with Colleen Nick attending every press conference she could, Morgan's name remained a headline and at the forefront of many minds.
That was one of the things with Morgan's case. It was never a cold case. Cold case is when you don't have any leads to go on. You don't have anybody giving you information.
White says there were days they were drowning in leads and tips, adding to the difficulty in knowing which ones helped the chase and which ones were dead ends. This leading to the department's creation of systems that sort through sources and using the FBI's record management system Rapid Start.
You could start from, maybe it was new information and you could start from the middle, but you didn't have to start at the beginning again.
Leading to a file room dedicated solely to Morgan Nick's case. And while it may seem helpful to have everything organized in one room, it instead left a daunting question.
Many times we've talked about, we probably have the person's name. We have the person that did this, all their information's in that room. What we don't know is which one it is.
A needle in a haystack with one key piece of evidence wrapped in many of those tips.
It was a bad time to own a red pickup with a camper shell.
Endless calls of a truck, almost always leading to innocent people. Almost. With the exception of at least 7 sightings from June 9th, 1995, that may trace the steps of now suspect Billy Jack Links, someone high on the department's radar for many years. But with no way to confirm a connection between Morgan and Links, investigators continued the search. In 2019, White retired, with the case wide open, and Jeff Pointer stepping into the role as the new chief.
To be able to pick up where he left off is, it's a huge accomplishment, but at the same time, it's a heavy load to carry.
Which new detective Sean Taylor says he can agree with after being handed the case following the original investigator Brett Hartley's retirement. And with a fresh set of eyes on the case and advancements in technology, the department took a new perspective on past evidence.
When I first started in law enforcement, of course there's been DNA, but I was always told you couldn't get DNA from a hair without a root on it.
And then came Othram, a new forensic process offering another chance for the case.
It was one of those things that, even in the years that I've been involved in the case, you always ran into a dead end.
Pointer says in moments like those, the department tried to not get their hopes up, but then the results came in.
When I got the news, I teared up because I honestly did not expect to get anything from the stuff because it has been so long.
There was DNA matched out of Billy Jack Links's vehicle to the Nick family.
Placing Morgan Nick in Links's truck at some point in time.
Her DNA was in the truck for a reason, so we do believe that she was in the truck, but as far as if Mr. Links was in the truck at that time or not, is one of the things that we don't know.
An unsolved case, and a police force with a drive to keep digging, even after 30 years.
The goal has always been to find Morgan, is more so than it was to find the person who took Morgan.
I say good morning to Morgan every morning I come in, so maybe today will be the day.
Investigators are looking into thousands of other unsolved cases in the natural state, but partnerships at the state and local level aim to drive those numbers down. Joshua Panetta takes us further into the development of cold case units and how they're using every avenue possible to solve cases like Morgan's.
We won't stop till we find her. I know that I feel like every few years we get closer to the answer, but we won't stop till we find her.
10,958 days have passed since the disappearance of Morgan Nick, an abduction that sparked an immediate investigation, and despite thousands of leads, her case remains unsolved. But 3 decades later, Morgan's case has led to a revolutionary movement in the development of technology and cold case units to help with missing persons cases.
The Morgan Nick case has had a big impact on our office. Her mother is very active in the missing persons community.
Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin was sworn into office in January of 2023, and he says one of the most pressing topics he's received a lot of questions on is cold cases, which led him to a spur-of-the-moment creation.
So I was going to speak to our missing persons event. I believe it was June of last year, and I said to myself, I think as I was driving out there, because I remember calling my press guy, I think I said, hey, I'm going to announce a cold case unit in a minute. And that's what we did.
AG Griffin says the unit is comprised of investigators who have years of expertise and have worked on cold cases in their previous jobs. He says the team has made good progress on unsolved investigations due to the technology developed.
It used to be just matching DNA was the standard. Now there's so many more aspects to it. There's technology. Sometimes you have a commingling of DNA. Right? More than one DNA in a sample. And the technology that's available now does a better job of being able to look at that and being able to separate one from the other. Every day there's more data for us to potentially match to. More criminals.
Rather than simply taking these cases over, the cold case unit within the Attorney General's office provides local law enforcement agencies with the tools and resources they need to finish what they started and to provide families the answers that they deserve.
Major Stacy Rhodes oversees the Criminal Investigation Division of the Arkansas State Police, and she says, like the AG's office, cold cases started to stack up, and they needed to come up with a way to solve them.
And so that we could maybe find new ways of approaching these cases. The investigators 10, 20 years ago, they never expected those cases to not be solved or to be cold. And so we looked at them and thought, how can we rejuvenize these? By looking through them through a new evidentiary lens, like what has changed in DNA, what has changed in fingerprints, so many areas that they were never looked at before. So we created our unit and started filtering through those.
Since the creation of the cold case unit, Major Rhodes says ASP has made remarkable progress, even providing some families with the closures that they've been seeking.
Up to today, we're right about 165 cases that we have reviewed. We've solved 3. We've identified several human remains that were never known before. So we really feel like we're making some strides, but we still have a long, long way to go.
But Major Rhodes says cases like Morgan Nick's helped shape how agencies like ASP tackle these investigations.
Well, 1995, I was working here in Little Rock at a grocery store at Kroger. I'd recently graduated college and was working down here in Little Rock, and I remember it being all over the news and had no idea that several years later that I would be working with an agency helping resolve her case.
Working closely with Colleen and her family, Major Rhodes is sure of one thing.
Nobody's ever forgotten about Morgan Nick. I don't believe anybody in the state who was there has ever forgotten her.
Major Rhodes says forensics genealogy is an ever-evolving tool that's helping ASP identify missing people.
If you go to the NamUs website, you will see dozens or hundreds of unidentified human remains that have been located. We've got dozens here in Arkansas of people we don't even know who they are. And then when you cross that against all of the missing persons that are out there, there's no doubt that those can cross over. And we're hoping that forensic genetic testing can help us identify those people and at least have answers for those missing persons as well.
27 years working in law enforcement, and Major Rhodes is still left wondering how parents like Colleen Nick find the strength to continue to fight every day. But while she was running in the 13th annual Superhero 5K hosted by the Morgan Nick Foundation, Major Rhodes was reminded of why she continues to seek the long-lost answers that many families have never gotten.
I'm going to tear up. I'm sorry. We were running that 5K, and I'm struggling through that 5K. I mean, I told you I didn't prepare, and I'm struggling. Every half a mile, there were posters of someone that was missing. And I thought to myself, I even took my phone out and recorded some of them, but I thought to myself, my struggle is nothing compared to what a family has to go through and not knowing, where Bobo Shin is, whatever happened to her. There's so many of those cases. Kelly Evans missing out of, Faulkner County. I could just go down the list. Aisha Jackson, all of the faces that I saw on that run, it breaks my heart, but that's what we strive to, is help those people find the answers they're out there. We just have to be dedicated enough to find them.
And as a mother, Stacey Rhodes says she will do whatever it takes for the Nick family to get the answers they've been seeking for 10,958 days.
And for Taryn and the rest of her family, we're fortunate we don't know what that feels like. From a mother to a mother, I don't know. She's a lot stronger woman than I am.